All right, so thank you everyone for joining today. This is Gene from CommerceBlend. And before we get started, just wanted to let you know that we will be sharing a recording of today's session. And if you have any questions that come up as we're going through this, there is a Q&A tab down at the bottom of the Ring Central console. You can just click on that and enter questions and we will get to them. We'll try to get to them by the end of the session. If we get too many questions, we'll follow up by email after. So without further ado, for those of you who are not already familiar with CommerceBlend, it is a community of merchants and thought leaders within the e-commerce community that are intended to give you an advantage in helping to both grow and improve and protect your business. And so we're always looking for who are the most relevant partners to help merchants out there. And certainly one of those right now is Nexcess. Nexcess, many of you may be familiar, has long been known as one of the best hosts for Magento. They also provide support for WooCommerce, WordPress, Expression Engine, and others. But they introduced a program recently called Safe Harbor, which is a way to remain safe with your Magento 1 site even after end of life comes up. And without going into too much detail, I want to save that thunder for Jessica, who has joined us today from Nexcess, and she's going to go into much more detail about the Safe Harbor as well as just Nexcess itself. And we're very happy to present Jessica to you today. So Jessica, without further ado, I will stop sharing my screen and the stage is yours.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jessica Mott, and as Jean mentioned, I am an employee with Nexcess. My specific role is I am a strategic partner development manager on the managed apps team, and I oversee Magento, WordPress, WooCommerce, and all of our managed applications that we work with at Nexcess. I'm going on year 7 of being in the e-commerce space. And before that, I was a corporate trainer for 4.5 years. So webinars are not anything that are new to me. But today I'm going to be presenting you guys a lot of information and great content about what our Safe Harbor offering is. And the first thing that I'd like to say about Safe Harbor is it was designed and intended for merchants who are struggling or trying to make some very difficult decisions about what to do with Magento 1 becoming end of life in June. Magento and Adobe community have made it very clear that they are not going to delay the end of life any further, even in today's current state. And so by all measures, we are seeing that it very much will end in June. So what exactly does this mean for merchants? Well, that's one of the things we're going to cover today is what is the landscape for merchants and what options do they have to extend their Magento 1 store beyond June. So the first thing to understand about where merchants are today is that by all measures of the M1 stores, we still have hundreds of thousands of Magento merchants on M1. The figure that has been thrown around in most of the community is it's somewhere around 140,000 merchants are still on M1. And a lot of those merchants don't know what EOL is. They don't know what an end of life for their store looks like or means. Many of those merchants have not kept up with their PHP upgrades, so they're also facing that as part of this process. They are not ready to invest in Magento 2. The cost is significant, and they are looking at not only what is the overall cost to go to M2, they are looking at what does it look like to re-platform in general, or how do I extend the life of my current store as long as possible so I have time to make a qualified business decision on going to M2 or re-platforming. Additionally, many of these merchants do not have a partner, or if they have worked with a partner, they have not worked with a partner in a long time, and the partner landscape might have changed. So one of the key things here is that the Nexcess team, my team, is able to match partners, including firms like Plumtree Group, and that's part of what Safe Harbor is offering as well. So as I mentioned, the entire intent for creating the Safe Harbor product was that it was created by experts in the space here at Nexcess so that we can provide malware detection, threat monitoring for the store as it reaches end of life. And one of the key features that is going to go away when M1 ends, support ends in June, is patching. And I will be going over the patching piece here in just a moment. But this is going to mean that a lot of the M1 sites are going to be incredibly vulnerable to security threats. And what we are predicting is that come July 1st, once the support has ended, there will be a number of vulnerabilities that present themselves very quickly that are going to work to take advantage of the lack of security that will now be offered within M1. So who exactly is Safe Harbor for? So the key things that we want to look for with a merchant who might be a good candidate for Safe Harbor is, one, they might not have a relationship with an agency partner. So as I mentioned a little bit ago, a lot of these merchants might have worked with a partner some time ago, but they might not have a current partner that they're working with actively. So that's definitely something we want to look for when recommending Safe Harbor, so we can right fit a partner that would help them make a qualified decision on what they should do. Another qualifying candidate point that we want to take a look at is that they have not upgraded to even the latest version of Magento 1, which, by the way, that version is 1.9.4.3. So we want to make sure that we've got that, we're looking at that so we can understand where exactly they are in M1. If they're on a very old store, like a Magento 1.8, we might have to have a discussion with them about getting them to the latest version of M1 to then go to M2. And then another very important factor we also want to look at is, does the merchant have technical staff in-house to help them with a transition of this scale? Often what we see is this is not the case, and that is where the Nexcess support team and the partner support team and partner community is going to be incredibly helpful to help that merchant. And then most importantly, the financial impact, especially given the pandemic and what small businesses are facing. This is an even bigger outlier in making a decision on what they do to keep their store up and taking orders. And the cost is exorbitant. So Safe Harbor is a way for them to maintain their site, keep costs low, and again, make that qualified business decision on is moving or replatforming the right decision. What is included in Safe Harbor? There are three main components of our Safe Harbor product. The first is Malware Scans, and we are going to do this with our support team to ensure that there are no outlying threats that are occurring on the M1 store. Again, with the lack of patching that will be available from Magento directly, we want to make sure that there are no threats getting into these stores. If and when there is a threat that is being seen across the community, patching will then become available within the open source community, and we will make that available to anybody on Safe Harbor. Enhanced threat protection. This is going to include heavy monitoring, bots, and HTTP requests. And Nexcess has a very robust monitoring system that we offer for our Magento customers. And within that monitoring, we are going to be taking a look at behavior to make sure that there are no outliers. And that also is going to be combined with that malware I mentioned previously. Staging environments. This one's pretty exciting for our team. Previously, we have not offered staging environments to a lot of our legacy customers. And this is now going to be available under the Safe Harbor product. And what this is going to allow our merchants to do is really have a space to test and figure out what an upgrade looks like. So if they're on 1.9 and they want to see what it looks like to go to M2, we're going to be able to offer the partner and the client or merchant a staging environment where they can go have a safe place to test. We can give that to them for various amounts of time, and then they will be able to do a beta before they decide to do their go live. And then finally, the most important piece, backported security patches post end of life. Where this is really going to impact is PCI. A lot of our payment processors and a lot of our merchants that we have already put under Safe Harbor have asked, will my site be PCI compliant? And the answer is yes, because we are going to have patching available through the end of next year so that the merchant can be PCI compliant. So on this slide, this is a little bit of what the dashboard is going to look like for the client. And it has all of the various pieces that we've talked about. And it's a window into the staging. And as you can see, there you will be able to go in. You'll be able to look at the malware scans. You're going to be able to see your threat protection. You'll be able to see your actual staging environment. It'll include your PHP version, accessing your staging, those various pieces. There will be a section here that when a patch becomes available that you'll be able to click on and have that go through and do that process. One of the things that Miguel, our Magento expert in-house at Nexcess, is talking about is the possibility of doing patching auto so that it's not so manual. We are not there yet, but it's definitely something we have on our radar. And another component that we've been asked about with this similar model is, will it be available for Magento 2? And so we at Nexcess have recognized that that might be a need as well. And we are exploring launching this product to support Magento 2 as well for the early versions of M2. It is not available yet. And the only other caveat I will make on the product as a whole is that it is only available right now on cloud and our shared multi-tenant servers. We are in the process of exploring what it will look like to make this product available for our dedicated builds, but right now that is in the pipe. We are only offering this on shared multi-tenant and our cloud offering. All right, so that covers a core amount of what Safe Harbor is, and it gives a good overview of the product. So I would like to open up the floor for discussion and or questions.
Jessica, one question that I have that is maybe not in the Q&A at this point, and that is when you mentioned around the backported security patches, which will allow sites to remain PCI compliant through the end of next year. So that's through the end of 2021, they will be PCI compliant?
Yes, and the way that it's been explained within Nexcess internally by Miguel is that those patches are going to be built within the open source Magento community. And so there's a strong push for that community to keep, they too want to keep M1 stores supported. And so within the open source community, they will work, our team will work and they will work together to provide those patches. I know that process is a little clunky right now, but I have been encouraged that as those patches present themselves and as security vulnerabilities present themselves, the community will work to make sure that those patches are available. And one of the partners that will have it available is Nexcess.
Fantastic, thank you. And we have a question from one of the attendees. Will the staging environment be auto-synced with live in Safe Harbor? And what will be the frequency if so?
So it will not be auto-synced. There will be a migration process involved to go from staging to prod, and that will be something that will be fully supported by our team, and it will be at no additional cost. So we will, once a Safe Harbor merchant is at that point and a partner is at that point, we will go in and work with you to figure out the migration timeline and then help with that migration process.
Excellent. Thank you. One other question I have here, and that's around when you talked about whether Safe Harbor would be available for M2, all those, is it version 2.2 and earlier that since support was stopped in December, for those versions, if you are to adopt it for M2, would it include the same Safe Harbor features, the malware scans, threat protection, staging environment, et cetera?
Yes, so that's exactly what we're exploring right now. Miguel and my director, Tracy, and myself, and my other managed app team members have been interviewing partners to understand what is needed for this product line for M2. And basically what we're hearing is that, yes, we would want every feature available within Safe Harbor for M1 available for M2. We just have not, from a product side, designed what the M2 piece looks like. And it's not too far of a stretch. We just have to nail down the specifics and then decide when it's going to be relevant to have it available. I know it's something Miguel is definitely not opposed to. And I foresee it being available soon. We just are nailing down what exactly that launch looks like.
Great, thank you. And what is the cost for Safe Harbor?
Oh, great question. So we basically take the base price that you're currently paying for your Magento store, and we do a 35% rate on top of that. It is a daily rate that's billed monthly. I know that's a little bit confusing, but we basically take your base rate, multiply it up by 35%, figure out what that addition is, and then that's added to your bill monthly.
That makes total sense, and that seems very fair for the kind of security and peace of mind that this will offer. Another question from the field, and this may be hard to quantify, but how good is the Nexcess malware? How good will the scan be? Because some server malware scans can raise false red flags by marking third-party apps as malware.
That's a great question, and actually not one that I can fully answer, but I can definitely take it to my team and to Miguel to find out. I know that we have most of that built in-house, so I will find out from Miguel how we would get around that or get that question answered.
Totally fair. Thank you, Jessica. And then one other thing, if whether it's for M1 or M2.2 and earlier, PCI compliance can be maintained through the end of next year. Obviously, first you want clients to feel cozy and protected in Safe Harbor. Is it the kind of thing at some point in time would you start encouraging them, even if it's early next year, to start looking towards replatforming? Or is it something where that you're hoping that they can sort of indefinitely remain on M1? Or is it something where you're still seeing end of life, it's just a more distant horizon, you're buying them some time and peace of mind now while they can make these kind of decisions?
So I want to stress that we absolutely, our absolute end goal across the team is to have everyone be off of M1. What will happen is there will be a point where M1 will just no longer be able to be sustainable. It's not only from a security patching level, from a malware scan level, PCI level. What we're going to see in the industry is that payment or plugin and extension providers will follow Adobe Magento suit and make it so that their extensions and plugins no longer support M1. So there will just be a general phase out where themes, plugins, extensions, just kind of the core builders of the sites will just slowly have support as a whole, and all aspects fall off. So the whole intent with Safe Harbor and the reason it was designed is so that we can extend the life so you can migrate or re-platform. That's the sole goal. our team will definitely provide that guidance. But the reason we set kind of a through the end of next year is because what we see is it just really fizzing out.
That's a great answer, and also brings into the foreground the idea that it's not just the platform, but all of those that support the platform that will be moving on. And so everything will start to atrophy. So that's something very, very important to bear in mind.
Yes.
So thank you for that. Are there any other questions from attendees today? Again, the Q&A tab is right at the bottom of the Ring Central console. I know you've given a really great overview and gotten some important specifics, Jessica. Is there anything else that you wanted to add from your side? Or I think combined with today's recording, this gives everyone here a very solid overview and understanding of how Safe Harbor can help to protect M1 merchants. And as you said, 140,000 that will be vulnerable, many of whom are not even aware of end of life, and many of whom don't have a partner today. So this is a really important issue for the community.
Yeah, I would just stress that given the climate today, the economic impact and the financial impact is even more of a difficult decision. If I'm a merchant who may only be surviving by my online store, given today's climate, and now I'm being told that support by my primary platform provider is ending, it's a very daunting decision to decide what to do next. I think the community has an incredible opportunity to rally together and provide a beacon of hope, like we've so brilliantly titled this, a safe harbor for those people to get guidance, to get advice and wisdom, and ultimately have hand-holding throughout the entire process. And I think there's an opportunity across the community to gain some really valuable relationships that could be very long-lasting, well beyond an upgrade to M2 or a re-platform. And so I think we should all take advantage of that in a good way, not in a bad way.
Absolutely. Well, no, that's a great way to wrap it up. And in terms of being a beacon of hope, Nexcess is obviously taking a leadership role in that with Safe Harbor. So thank you for educating the crowd here today. We really do appreciate the time and the investment in putting together a deck and just thoughtful presentation across the board. So Jessica, we will follow up with you with any merchants who may reach out to us that are in need of Safe Harbor ASAP. And I hope everyone who joined today has a safe, healthy, and relaxing weekend. Thank you for your attention on this. It's very valuable for the whole community. All right. Thank you, everybody.